Hi, my name is Kenzie and welcome to a watercolor video. This was definitely my favorite painting that I did this season. It was just so fun and different, and I hope that you learned some fun things along the way. Let's get started. So this right here is my Winsor Newton watercolor paints that I have taken from the tube and put it inside this palette that I got off of Amazon. I have a tapping cloth right here. It's always good to have one. That way you don't have excess water on your page. I also have my two water cups right here. One I use for cool paints and one I use for my warmer paint colors. I also have right here my dryer. I like to use this to speed up the process between layers. These are the brushes that I use. These are the silver black velvet. I have size 12, 4, and 8, and these are the round tip brushes. These two items I use all the time. This is called masking fluid. It acts as a cover. So wherever I put this masking fluid, let it dry, I can paint over top, can make sure my painting is 100% dry. I can scrape off the masking fluid and that area will be left untouched. So I use this a lot, but make sure to use an old brush because it does get kind of goopy and you'll end up with a broken brush. I also like to use bleed proof white. This is a very highly pigmented white, which will sit on top of any type of color. These three palettes I do use often. They are the Prima Marketing palettes. I am going to be using the Vintage Pastels. I'm using this painting as an example. I always like to have painter's tape on hand. I like to paint down my paintings. It's easier to one, film, and to also just keep everything from moving around and it getting a little messy. It also helps to protect your desk, which you'll see mine is very worn. So it definitely does help with that. Let's get started with this cute little chick. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just mix up the color of chick that I like. So you're gonna see here, my paints are still wet. I had to do a little bit of a restock and I don't have time to let them dry. But usually if you guys put down the tubes in your palette, let them dry for 24 hours. Don't do what I'm about to do. So I'm gonna bring in some yellow and a little bit of raw umber in here. I'm gonna add some water too. More yellow. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start kind of shadowing underneath my little chick, bringing it down. And I'm also gonna use some water in here to just kind of blend it out so that I have some soft blends of this color that I just put down. So now you'll see it's a little bit more pigmented and it kind of washes out and fades down, which is what I'd want. I'm gonna come down my side here, just kind of using some flicks for the chick. And I'm just gonna put down my first layer. I'm gonna do a few layers over here to just really make this little chick pop. And while that's still wet, using that wet on wet technique, I'm coming in with a darker pigment of this yellow brown, leaving some white space as well. And I'm gonna let this dry so that I can work on my egg. But I feel really good about this part right here. Actually, I'm gonna come in and just do a little bit of the corner over here as well. And then we'll leave it. Just gonna do the areas that are gonna be more shadowed first so that that has time to dry. Okay, so I'm gonna come down now and do my egg. So this egg we can do, I'm trying to think, a little bit of indigo. Mix that over here. So in this part of my palette already has a little bit of gray in it. So it's gonna be a little bit of a grayish mix to it. I'm gonna come in with some more blue. So when we're working with white, we work more on the shadows than we do the actual by painting white. So you're gonna see here, I'm gonna be using this gray blue mix and I'm gonna be focusing where there would be a more of a natural shadow. So around my curved area, I'm gonna come in with a damp brush. There's nothing on this but water, and I am going to blend out, just what we did up here, blend out so we don't have any harsh lines. Right in here. I'm gonna come maybe in here a little bit more. I'm gonna come with that brush, that damp brush, and blend out just like that. I'm gonna come on this side. See, I always do this. I always paint on this side, and then I have to move my arm. I need to start on the left. Anyway, I'm gonna come with this blue again and fill up this area. Getting that water and blending it out. Especially around towards the bottom as well. Blend, 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 blend. Okay, cool. So I want this part to be obviously a little bit lighter. And then I'm gonna mix in a little bit of purple into this bluish grayish mix that we have. And I'm gonna come on the inside in here to make it look really shadowed. So this kind of looks more like the inside of the egg. I'm blending it out. And blending it out. Perfect. And I'm just going to use a damp brush. I'm going to lift up some of that color that I have. There we go. Okay, so using this brush right here that has still that purplish tone to it. This is dry down here. I'm going to come in and just add some of that darker tone towards my bottom. Again, I'm going to use a little bit of a damp brush to just kind of try to blend it out. Come around to this edge, and then especially over here as well. And you'll see I have more water on this brush than I do paint, because you'll know that because it's not as dark as when I had first originally put that one down. There's a lot more water on this part of my brush for sure. Okay, I'm gonna blend, 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 blend. And then using a lot of water, less paint, I'm gonna come in here, and it's just more of like a hint of color towards my bottom. I'm gonna scoop up any type of over darkness or lines that I may have. And there we go. That's my first layer right here. So moving on to my little beak, we're gonna use some orange. So I just mixed up some cadmium red and cadmium yellow already. So it's already in my palette, so I'm just gonna use what I have. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around and I'm gonna really quickly put down my first color, but see how I'm doing this part of the beak first? Then I'm gonna come in with another brush and I'm gonna drag out this color, what I have, all the way out. So you have a gradual natural gradient. And if it's still not super pigmented while it's still wet, using the wet on wet technique, you can come in and definitely touch different parts with a darker color, and then use some water to just kind of help blend it out for sure. And then I want to add a little bit of definition right over here while it's still wet. So it looks like it's got a nice curve to it. I actually want that to be a little bit more darker. I kind of blended that out too much. Just adding a little bit more pigment. And then more pigment up here and right in here. Okay, cool. I'm gonna let that dry before I work on the bottom part of my beak. So I can actually use this orange that I just mixed up for the beak, and I'm gonna use that to kind of shadow around my little chicks. Did I keep calling it a duck? I can't even remember what I've been calling it. I'm meaning to be calling it a chick. With a little bit of orange around the sides of its eyes. Okay. I'm gonna blend this out so it's not so heavy. I'm gonna blend this out so again it's not so heavy. Okay, that looks and seems pretty dry to me. So I'm gonna come underneath it now to the bottom part of its beak. It's gonna be a little bit darker than the top. I'm gonna dry this. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this brown, I'm gonna mix it into my orange a bit so it's darker again, and then where the crease of its beak is, I'm gonna hit that with a brown. Like the corners of the beak. And I'm gonna come in with that brown as well. I want a little bit more brown. I'm gonna touch the top in here with it, and then I'm gonna come in and just kind of shadow a little bit more along that beak line right here. And then underneath the beak as well with this brown, I'm gonna come in and just shadow just a bit. Gonna grab some water and just kind of drag it out. And there we go. I also feel like it's just not as pigmented as I would like the beak is just not as bright as I'd like. So I'm gonna come ahead and just mix up a little bit more of a brighter orange, just to kind of make this pop just that much more. Okay. Let me see. I want to make this bottom part, so I'm using that bright blue again. I want to just make this stand out just that much more. So I'm going in with my third layer now, just touching different spots with a wash of a blue. Okay. I think what's throwing me off is I want to finish the inside over here, but I'm going to come in with a little bit more of that gray color and do that second layer in here with that grayish blue color. And then you'll see I'm not bringing this all the way up. I'm just doing the sides right here. I'm going to get some water. I'm going to blend out this line right here, blend out this line right here. And now this bottom part is more shadowed than the top, which is exactly what we want. I can come in and touch again with a even more darker pigment while it's still wet. Okay. I feel like I'm just fussing. So I'm gonna come in and fill in the body and see how I feel before I do any other type of final details. So I'm gonna dry everything on the egg just to make sure I'm not smudging anything. Okay. I'm trying to think. Okay. I'm gonna actually add a little bit of an orange tint to that yellow that I have as well. And I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna fill in some other layers right here. So you're gonna see that I'm leaving some white space. I'm not completely covering that first layer that I had down, but I'm definitely throwing in some extra layers. I'm gonna come underneath the neck and just kind of do some flicking, make sure that I'm still allowing that first layer to shine through, not completely covering it. Okay, for the top of my little chick, I'm going to start at the nose. And the goal here is to always make sure you're going light than dark, because it's really hard to layer if you start really hot and heavy. So I'm going to come in with more of a wash of my tones. I'm going to come around my eye right here. Again, you want more of like a wash. I'm using that yellowish color. I'm going to bring it all the way around here. Bringing it around its eyes. And you'll see that I'm leaving some white space as well. I'm not completely covering it. Do you guys see how light I'm going? I'm not going super dark because then it just becomes really impossible to layer. I'm using the side of my brush with a lot of water here and just doing kind of flicking motions towards the outer part. And I'm stopping where you see my ink mark. I'm going out of my ink mark almost as well, which is totally fine. Just gives it a little bit more depth. Okay, so this would technically be my first layer. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I'm happy with the white space and the wash. Now what the whole goal is to just keep building on each layer, maybe do 2-3 more layers, and then we'll see where we're at. So I have to make sure everything is dry here. So now I'm going in and I'm going to be doing the wet on dry technique. Actually, I think before I do that, I think it's important that I fill in the eyes as well. I want to make sure I have all of my first layers down because I also feel like when it's not 100% complete, it just kind of throws, at least me, it throws me off. So I just want to be a little bit more prepared with that. So I'm going to come in and fill around the eye with a bluish color, leaving some white space. I'm going to come even out of that eye area with this blue. Again, starting really nice and light. I'm going to dry it. So now I can come in with my black. And I can start to bring this little chick to life. So I'm coming in with the gray. Remember how we're starting off nice and light so we don't overdo it. Leaving some white space in the eye. I'm gonna dry it. I'm going to come in again with a little bit more of a darker, more pigmented color. Making sure I'm leaving some white space for the eye. And then with more of a grayish tone, I'm going to come around and just kind of outline this part. Or what do you call it, the lash line? Okay, that's good enough for now. And then with the orangey yellow color, I'm going to come in and just do a little bit more depth. So around where my ink mark is where I'm going to focus that orangey color, around the sides as well. Coming underneath his eye as well. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap, a lighter gap. But I want to come in and kind of shadow it a bit. Blending it out. Blending it out. And then I want this line to just be a little bit more pigmented. And then underneath the eye, I'm just gonna add a little bit more pigment to it. A little bit more yellow. I'm gonna dry this. Underneath the mouth, I'm gonna add some yellow. Got a bit of a harsh line here, I'm just blending that out. Okay. Okay, now we have all of our first layers down. So now we can come in and have fun with this. Just add some nice shadings to some of the parts. So I can come into my top and just add a little bit more. You still don't want to go too dark, but just add a little bit more depth, more layering. So this is the wet on dry portion, and this is how, like I've said a million times, you do create depth and dimension to your piece. So everything has to be 100% dry, otherwise it's just going to kind of bleed and blend, which is what we don't want. It'll just start to kind of lack. So I'm going to come in a little bit more orange to this side. I'm going to bring my little chickie to life now. I want to leave the cheeks nice and white. I don't want to put too much love into those. I think it'll just kind of help this chick look a little bit more real. So I'm not going for realism here, but I'm definitely trying to put in enough detail where you can look at it and not think it looks flat. Again, just going underneath my little chick's eyes here, coming in over top. The eyebrows. I don't like this line here. I'm gonna blend it out. It's too dark. And again, I'm using the side of my brush, doing lots of little flicks. I'm using my size 4 brush to do these types of details right in here. Go nice and light on this side. Going in with a little bit more of a brown underneath the eye. I do want to make these eyes pop with the beak too. So you'll see I'm not fixating on just one part of the chick. I'm definitely moving around, being more fluid. That also gives different types of areas that I've painted enough time to dry. So I'm definitely moving around my painting. And now I'm going to be shadowing underneath my little chick's neck. Going in with more of a brown yellow so I can get that nice separation. Using the very tip of my brush here. Okay, coming down, doing a little bit more flicks and love. I'm gonna add a little bit more of an orange, more of a reddish orange, I think, yeah. Around here and underneath the neck as well. I'll add a little bit more of a reddish tone. I'm gonna come in and just add more coloring over here, blending it out. And this looks a little flat over here. I'm gonna bring up some shadows a little bit more. Perfect. Come. Okay, so I can already tell when I'm putting this down, nothing's really happening. It's all just kind of blending, which means that I just need to give this a hot minute to kind of dry a bit. So I'm going to move back up. I'm going to add a little bit more of that reddish color. I really like how that looked underneath that area. I'm going to add some more of that color to my eye. Again, I really want this eye just to kind of pop and stand out. I think if I can do that, this trick will look great if I can get the eye down. Okay. Come around and just add a little bit more shadow. I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow. Okay, so now I'm coming in with probably my final layer here in some parts, and I'm gonna try my best to just touch different points, kind of where my ink marks are, and give it a good touch to kind of distract from the lines that are here. Coming in with a little bit more yellow to the, so it's just not as white. Coming in around the mouth here. Coming in with more yellow towards the body. This down here should be dryish now. Adding a little bit more pigment around the egg. It's just too washed out down here, following that line. And then dragging it up just to blend out my lines. So you'll see, doing this type of painting, it definitely just takes layers and layers. It's not just one layer. And this can be tricky. This can be tricky to want to know when to stop, or it just takes practice, this part, for sure. And I know I'm going really fast, but I also feel like I go fast so that I don't get fixated on just like one part of my painting. Otherwise, I feel like I just drive myself nuts. So I am definitely going fast. I'm gonna add a little bit more shadows down towards the egg part, because it should be the darkest, right? Because it's going to be covered by an egg. Bringing up this. I want to bring in a little bit more of like a brighter yellow, I feel like. Okay. With my orange color. Again, just kind of adding more shadows and more depth to places. Especially this eye. Give it a good shadow. I'm going to come in with more brown and a little bit more red. That's a lot of red. Okay, adding some more depth to the eye area again. Blend, blend. See how pigmented that yellow is when you put a lot of pigment and not just paint down? It's really yellow. It's actually really pretty. I like it. I like that it's making it look super yellow. Because when I think of traditional little chicks, I definitely think of cute yellow chicks. Okay. So what I feel like I need to do now, I want to come kind of around my little chickie and just make this egg appear like it's just more in the background. So I'm going to do my 4th layer over here. Or I guess this is my 3rd fur in here. See how I'm not coming in all the way, but I am going to touch it, just that line, and just blend it out. Blend, blend, blend. Make that chick pop. And we can go around his little hair that we've already painted, especially on this side. And then blend, blend, blend. Add a little bit of darkness, I think, just right in here too. I just don't like how it's just plain. Yeah, I like that better. Gonna go around the base of my egg again. Gonna add more blue. Okay. Alright, so now I'm just gonna come in, just do a little bit more detail in some spots if I feel like I'm missing anything. I'm gonna come in and make this black that much more darker for the eyes. Okay, I want more blue. I want more blue in the eye. Okay, I add a little bit more blue. I'm going to come in and just shadow a little bit more of this little chickie's eyes. I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of going over the same parts, so maybe that means I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm just kind of fiddling. Maybe I'll just do some little last little details. Again, making sure I'm really emphasizing some parts. Okay, I'm trying to think. Maybe add a little bit more brown over here. Just add that bit more of a shadow underneath its little neck. Maybe down here, make it a little bit more darker. Use umber. Okay. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it. I feel like it's pretty cute. Pretty springy. Spring is upon us. So now we can just kind of have fun with the background if we wanted. I don't know if I want to though. So let me, yeah, I do. I just had to change my tape real quick and I'm gonna border it. Oh, I keep dropping my paintbrushes on the ground. Yeah, let me border it. Okay, so I'm gonna mix up a nice blue sky. I'm gonna use a lot of water in here. So I'm gonna come around my little chick, kind of coming into where I stopped with my flicks. I'm gonna use some water real quick to just kind of blend out this line. I'm gonna touch with some more pigment so that it has a nice gradient while it's still wet. But then make sure the top is just kind of blended. Use some water now to just kind of blend this out. I love that there's like a fade and it's not just like all covered in blue. Oh, I love that. Okay, oh, I love it. Wow, I'm so glad I did the background. I was very hesitant at first, but I'm very happy I did not listen to my gut. It's very pigmented. Just gonna blend this out a little bit more. Okay. I feel like it just makes the chick pop that much more. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in with a little bit of green and I want it to be very bright and airy. So I'm gonna use more of like a sap green. First off, I'm gonna let this dry. And I'm gonna come in towards my bottom and kind of just do what I just did. And bring it all the way up. Just do some nice flicks towards the top of the egg. So I'm going into my blue at this point. I'm gonna come around and do some flicks from over here. Oh, see, I just did it again. Okay, gonna come up and just do some nice flecks. Coming in with a little bit more pigment. And I'm gonna just blend out the bottom. But what I'm going to do is add a little bit of yellow into it. Just again, just give it a different type of technique, different type of shade, sorry. And to think I almost didn't do this. I think it just makes it that much cooler. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of brown into my blue. Did I just say blue? I meant green. Sometimes I just get in the painting zone and one, I either forget to keep talking, or two, I just talk and then I'm not really like listening to the words that I'm saying. So I'll say words like blue instead of green. So I'm making sure that underneath my egg is nice and shadowed. I can even come in and just add a little bit, I don't really know if I love that. I'm gonna blend that out just a little bit. And I'm gonna dry this. So if you really wanted to, we can come in and we can add, I'm not gonna do a lot. I feel like I just don't really have the space, but we can add, let's see, maybe just like a little pop of like some lavender. So I'm gonna come in and just do like little dots. And I mixed up a little bit of blue and purple, sorry. I'm not gonna do a ton, but I'm just gonna add a few little lavender. I'll put more blue. Maybe a few over here, and then I think in here, and then I'll call it good. And then I'm going to come in with my green that I just had. My nice sap green color. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of like stems in it. So it just looks a little bit more intentional, like it was supposed to be here. Okay, I'm very, very, very tempted to just keep going with the flowers and just adding more and more, but I feel like I think I should stop. Maybe I will just like tap in a little bit more of like a pigmented purple just to kind of make it pop just a little bit more. I could do that. I just don't want to add more flowers because I just don't really want to pull away from like the focus, which should be the chick, but definitely very tempted right now to just add some bigger flowers. But I'll stop, even though I really don't want to. Okay, and there we have it, our cute little spring chick. I hope that you learned some fun things. I definitely had a lot of fun along the way painting this. Feel free to send me your videos. I'd love to see what you created in Happy Painting Friends.